And again, joining me is Tim Forshey, attorney at law. He's the guy I go to every time I have any question about anything legal, especially when it comes to my Second Amendment. Tim, somebody sent me a while back, and I want to break this down in three different sections, if we could. You said
Sure.
there's 3 C's of concealed carry, and I love alliteration, so if we can get into all these C's and then concealed carry, that's 5. It's fantastic. What's the first? Obviously, I would think that, and I would assume the first C of the 3 C's of concealed carry is concealment, correct?
It is. Well, you figured that out, Mike. And
Yes.
by the way, alliteration is always awesome. Let's not forget that. So
Yes,
yeah.
it is. Yes.
I always say the 3 C's. If people can just remember these 3 simple rules when it comes to carrying a gun, they're going to stay out of trouble. They're not going to need a gun, or they're not going to need a lawyer to defend them because of a gun, and that should be the goal, right?
Right.
So yeah, as you said, the first is concealment, and I think people sort of tend to take that for granted, but you shouldn't. It's very important. I would say, in the over 30 years I've been doing this, I would say 94% of the clients that I've had to represent with regard to shooting cases made the mistake of letting somebody know they had a gun. Now, obviously, if you have to use the gun, it kind of goes without saying that people are going to know you had a gun, but a lot of times it's just somebody who pulls a gun when they shouldn't, or exposes a gun that they're carrying concealed when they shouldn't, in the wrong place, that sort of thing. And they get into trouble. Obviously, the former can get you into a lot of trouble. The latter can get you into a little trouble, but trouble's trouble. And if you can avoid trouble, that's a good thing. So yeah, just making sure that you understand that you're truly concealed. That's hugely important.
Because anything can be considered brandishing, correct? I just love using words that are cool.
Yeah, we don't have brandishing is a great word. We don't have a crime called brandishment in Arizona like they do in a few states. They used to have it in Texas. It was an actual crime they would charge you with called brandishment. But since they finally passed open carry in Texas, they got rid of that law there as well. But basically, brandishment would be, to me, displaying your firearm in some manner that is inappropriate, whatever that would be. So that could simply be carrying open, I think, in many respects. That's why, I actually will stop and ask people when I see them carrying open on the street, hey, why you're carrying open? I don't know if you realize it, but we don't have a concealed weapons law per se in Arizona anymore. You can actually just cover that gun with your shirt without a permit even, and it's perfectly legal. And 80% of the time they tell me to FO and mind my own business, and 20% of the time they answer me, and about 90% of that time I get the same answer, why you're carrying open. And the answer is because I want people to back off and leave me alone. Okay. And that's so stupid on so many levels. It's tactically, it's very, very stupid. People don't realize that about 1/3 of all the police officers who die in the line of duty in this country each year are killed with their own weapon.
Really?
And those are cops who have 2 or 3 weeks of training on the mats, and they're in the academy, and they've got a $600 level 3 retention device on their holster. And still, fully 1/3 of them are killed with their own weapon. So if you're just standing in line at a fast food joint and I'm standing behind you and your gun is hanging off your hip in a nylon holster, basically you're dead if I want you dead.
Yeah.
You're not, the people that you're scaring off are not the people that you want to scare off. You're not scaring off the leader of the Hells Angels. That person's salivating about how they're going to take your gun and shoot you with it and sell it for meth later. The person you're scaring is the 28-year-old teacher that just moved here from Maryland and her 2 toddlers, and they're freaking out and running out of the store screaming. You're not helping the cause much. Just, carry concealed, please, please, please. It's legal to walk around as a man. It's legal to walk around without a shirt on. If I did that, I'd be causing riots all over the city. I mean, my God, people would be freaking out like it was Godzilla. Just because it's legal doesn't make it smart, so don't do that. And the thing about concealment too, Mike, is a lot of people tend to think that simply means that you can't see the gun. And I always point out concealment means a lot more than that. Okay. If I can't see your gun, but I can see a giant bulge under your shirt. If I can't see your gun, but I can see you constantly touching the same spot on your right hip or pulling up just the right side of your pants. If you walk through a door jam and I hear 2 pounds of cig hit the door jam instead of your hip, it's pretty obvious that you're carrying a gun. I don't have to see the gun to know that you're carrying a gun. So people need to take concealment a lot more seriously than they do. So,
and it's uncomfortable at times. Let's be real. It takes a while to get used to it.
It does take a while to get used to it, just like a belt, or I assume a brassiere. It takes a while to get used to it. But once you get used to it, you feel naked without it. And it's just one of those things. And by the way, there's an old saying from Clint Smith. It's not supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be comforting. And that's something to think about. But also, if your gun's uncomfortable, if it's painful to carry, you got the wrong holster or the wrong gun or in the wrong place. So there's a bajillion holsters out there now. Find one that works for you, that doesn't hurt, and then settle on that and carry your gun. That's
or a fanny pack.
Thing to do. Yeah, well, fanny packs are coming back. Actually, believe it or not, they're really coming back. if you do carry a fanny pack, please don't let it be one of those just black, Cordura nylons that just scream Glock. I mean, I remember back in '94 when we first got the law, and I was one of the first people in the first class to get my permit in '94, and everybody had these giant black fanny packs, and it was like, I mean, people would walk up to you and go 1911 or Glock, because those are your choices in '94, basically, right? So it just screamed gun. Now they've got smaller ones, they've got brighter color. I actually have one that's bright red. And I had a friend embroider the word Kodak in bright gold letters across the front of it, just as camouflage. And I know it works to some degree, because I've had people come up and ask me questions about what's my f-stop setting for a sunset in Arizona, and I don't know anything about photography, so I just have to like speak French and walk away and pretend like I didn't understand it.
Or say 9mm or 45. What did
exactly. So but fanny packs are making a comeback. So, but you can definitely find a way to carry your gun concealed. So stick with that and do that and make sure. I mean, to me, the only definition of concealed that makes sense is no one knows you're carrying a gun. Okay. Well, I literally was in the Ace Hardware in my neighborhood during COVID at some point. That point in COVID when we realized that the virus couldn't jump a full 6 feet, it could only jump 5.5 feet.
Right.
Yes. So we could go out again, but we had to stand on yellow circles. So I was standing on my yellow circle, and I decided to tempt the gods a bit. So I took about a half a step towards the guy in front of me to see if I was going to get like a face full of virus. And instead I got a face full of Hoppy's number 9. I could literally smell this guy's gun.
Wow.
So I told people that's enough. Don't walk around with Hoppy's number 9 dripping off of your gun, because everybody like me is going to smell it and know what it is. So using your sense of smell, your observational skills, your sense of hearing, you can determine that somebody's carrying a gun, then it ain't concealed. So you should always carry concealed. Yeah.
All right.